Call. I am your brand new host, Jessica Nad, and today I am joined with just some really fantastic folks to help us out on the call. So first thing, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Jennifer Tidball. Jennifer?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Tidball. I'm the Communications Director for Economic Development at K-State. Really happy to be here with all of you. I'm joining you from Sedgwick County. So I'm at the Sedgwick County Extension Office. I'm in the horticulture wing, which is why I have so many plants that I proudly display behind me on Zoom calls. But happy to be here with all of you. And I'm going to kind of try and be running things behind the scenes, adding people to the waiting room, monitoring the chat, all of that. So if you have any questions, just feel free to toss it in the chat and we'll get those addressed.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. We are glad that you are here. First of all, as we get started here, folks, if you don't mind popping in the chat who you are, who you're with, any bit of relevant information that you would like to give us. And then I'm going to transition over to somebody who's not here today. So somebody's ears are going to be burning as we have this conversation. And as many of you know, it's Nancy Daniels. So my very dear friend and colleague, Nancy, has been the steward of these calls for about the last 10 years. And so she's not here today. She's actually on vacation and she's working on her sunset towards retirement. So put in the chat how many years you have been listening to the First Friday e-calls. I know we have some people that are first timers, and we probably have people who have been on these calls for several years. So with that, Jennifer, let's kickstart the slideshow presentation that we have for everybody. Jennifer, you are on mute.
Okay, here we go. Bear with me. I'm trying to monitor the waiting room as well. So, okay, hopefully you're seeing the first slide of the PowerPoint.
And go ahead and advance to the next one.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So like I mentioned, these are the First Friday e-calls, and I want to encourage everybody to check out our website. So if you use your phone and you hover over to that QR code, it can take you to the last 10 years of all of the e-calls that we've hosted. And as you can see, we have a variety of subject topics that we have covered in the last 10 years. And so you can learn a little bit more about agribusiness. We've got housing, we've got small business resources, all the way down to trails and trail management and youth development calls. And just a huge shout out to the Community Vitality team. Once you go over to that website, you are going to see some of the amazing things that this team within Extension does currently and some future activities on the horizon. So with that, Ron, I would like to introduce you because I think our very next slide is going to be a promotion for a call everybody can join next week, and the radiator is starting. I'm going to go ahead and mute. Go ahead, Ron, take it away.
Thanks, Jessica. Good to be on with you and your radiator and all these friends. Many of you know that we do sponsor a monthly Zoom call, free Zoom call on the second Wednesday of each month at 12 noon. So lunch and learn format. It's called Remote Work Wednesdays. The purpose of that call is to explore the opportunities and challenges of working remotely or in a hybrid context, as many of us are doing. Our next e-call, our next Remote Work Wednesday call is next Wednesday, February 11. And we'll have a longtime rural Kansas entrepreneur who has been doing remote work for 30 years before it was fashionable. So he's going to share his experience with us. It's a free call. We encourage you, your partners, your clients, your coworkers to join us 12 noon on February 11. We'll be doing this again, of course, on March 11. We do it monthly, and we'll have Make My Move on with us. Some of you know that's a company that kind of serves as a matchmaker between communities and people looking to relocate to their communities. So you can look ahead to March 11. And we'd love to have you on Remote Work Wednesday next February 11.
All right, thank you so much, Ron. And Jennifer, I think we can advance to the next slide. Another shout out to, before we leave the topic of community vitality and K-State Extension and some of that amazing work that that team does, just wanted to give a shout out for the upcoming grant workshops that will be coming out in the next several months. So if you navigate over to that website that we had, and I don't know if Jennifer had the chance to stick it in the chat, you will learn a lot more about some workshops taking place in your area and online to be able to talk a little bit more about grant writing. So with that, let's go back to that slide right there. All right, we're going to get started with our conversation today and with our featured guest, Stephanie Moran. And before that, I wanted to frame this conversation. So why are we here today? Why are we talking to Stephanie? We're talking a little bit about something really cool that's happening in Topeka. So I just wanted to put out there a little bit of a did you know about this region of the United States. So as you can see on this slide, we have a little spot there in the Kansas City area and it pops out. So that is the animal health corridor. And that's going to frame this opportunity and this conversation that we're going to have right now, because as you know, the animal health corridor is the home to, and you might not know this, over 300 animal health companies. And this is the largest concentration of this vertical anywhere in the world. And so these companies represent a strong impact right here in Kansas, all the way over to Columbia, Missouri, thinking about that global impact in animal health, diagnostics, and pet food sales. And so if you don't know, this animal health corridor stretches from Manhattan, Kansas to Columbia, and it's really anchored right here within K-State's research ecosystem. So if you slide over to the next slide, why does it matter for this call? So the folks that are on this call, we're going to see individuals from Extension, Economic Development. We're going to see so many of our ESO, our entrepreneurs support organizations. I see them all in the chat. So excited to see everybody here. And so what matters to Kansas is that this topic is really rooted in Kansas agriculture. It is rooted in K-State's expertise in veterinarian, livestock production, and rural economies are really built on some of these topics we're going to be talking about today. It also brings together global communities in what we're talking about today. And it's really rooted K-State into real world impact. So with that, I am going to show you a quick slide about Stephanie Moran, and she's going to introduce herself at the exact same time. Hi, Stephanie, how are you?
I had to get off mute there. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today. Very excited to be on the call.
All right, so we're going to toggle over to one more slide. Today, the big topic is the Link Innovation Lab. And if you think about that slide I just showed about the animal health corridor, this is what we are talking about today. We are talking about the ability to have an actual facility to help us really execute on this opportunity that's right here in this region. So with that, Stephanie, do you want to give a little overview of Link and then we can toggle over and watch the video?
Yeah, absolutely. So Link Innovation Labs is something that we've been working on for a number of years here in Topeka. My predecessor, I've been in this role about 4 years now, and prior to me joining the organization, community leaders here in Topeka had identified innovation, creating an innovation hub as a strategy that they really wanted for this community. And so they had kind of put together an initiative. They identified the animal health corridor and as an opportunity for us, and went out to California, to Silicon Valley, to our plug and play partners, and pitched that Topeka should be hosting an animal health accelerator program here in Topeka to take advantage of that concentration of the animal health companies that Jessica mentioned. Much to our surprise, Plug and Play was like, that sounds like an excellent idea. And that took off pretty quickly. So in the fall of 2020, we hosted our first batch of startups in that animal health sector here in Topeka. We run about 10 to 15 startups through that program every spring and fall. They are from around the US and around the world. So we typically see it's not uncommon for us to see over half of those startups coming from outside of the US. And so that's a pretty exciting thing from an economic development perspective. The thing that we were really missing, we've got our university partners, we're working on funding partners. We've got a lot of great resource partners, some of them here on this call that we've been working with, but we really haven't had that place for those startups to land. And there is a shortage of this wet lab space for these startups to work in this region. And so about a year and a half ago, we really kind of shifted gears on our strategy. We'd been looking at an alternate location in downtown Topeka to build these labs. It really just wasn't moving forward with that particular developer. We'd been on that project for about 4 years with them. And so we just kind of said, okay, it's time to shift gears. We identified a building in downtown Topeka. It is an old Southwestern Bell AT&T building that was not being utilized. It's owned by a local property group, which has been fantastic to work with. And like I said, we started in August of 2024, kind of putting our thoughts and ideas together. We went to our joint city and county governing board, the JADO board, and pitched that we should pull these funds together to build out this first floor of this building as an innovation center with lab space. Go-Topeka would be the managing partner in that project. We received approval for that in December of 2025, hit the ground running coming out of Christmas, and did our groundbreaking back in June of 2025. And we are having our ribbon cutting opening ceremony on Monday. So this has been a fast and furious project once we kind of identified this new location, and we're very excited to open this facility.
That is amazing. Okay, let's take a look at a video and we're going to get kind of a sneak peek on what folks are going to see Monday about the link grand opening. So I'm going to hit share and everybody cross your fingers that the video works. We tested it and it worked earlier. So let's check it out. All right, I'm going to assume that the video worked.
Thank you, Jessica. That was great. So yeah, just some updates kind of showed progress as we went through the build out here over the last several months and how things were kind of taking shape. I am actually sitting in our pitch room. So this was one of the exciting pieces that we were able to kind of add into this project. With this being an old AT&T facility, we had this really dark corner of the building that was an old server room, and we were trying to figure out what to do with this space. So we've made this kind of into our pitch training event space. You can see it's all blacked out in here. Kind of think this is our Shark Tank space, if you will, so that as our startups are ready to pitch to investors and corporate partners, we've got a nice stage area behind me. We've got a little lounge area off to the side here where we can have those one-to-one partner conversations. So really excited about what this space does for our facility. We're a little over 17,000 square feet in here. We have 8 lab spaces that range in size from about 600 square feet to 750 square feet. They are built for BSL-1 and BSL-2 applications. 5 of those 8 labs are completed with casework, fume hoods, ready to go. We're ready to start leasing on Monday. So if we've got startups or you know someone that's looking for space, we have that available and are happy to have that conversation. We did leave 3 of those spaces white box. So they are finished with all of the HVAC, air, electrical, water hookups, everything that we need in that space, but no casework. We left them blank so that if someone has a custom build that they're looking for or a different type of application, we could shift those to more of a robotics type of facility, pilot manufacturing, really just kind of let them as open spaces for whatever startup might come in. While we have a concentration of animal health startups and ag tech that we've been working with through the plug and play program, we really want this to be a facility that welcomes all types of startups. I can tell you just based on the things that I've seen in different meetings and conversations with our startups over the years, when we have a variety of startup sectors working together, that's where some of the coolest innovation ideas really come from, is cross collaboration across those different industry sectors, whether it's fintech, cyber, AI, food and bev, sustainability. We've had actually a lot of sustainability startups come through our animal health sector because our animal health partners are looking for sustainable packaging or other initiatives within their businesses. So, open to startups of all different types. We also have some office and co-working space in here. We have this pitch room, an executive boardroom that sits 18, and a couple smaller conference rooms that sit 10. Those are all available for booking online by the public. So if you have an event or want to host a meeting in this space, those can all be utilized by the public sector through our online booking system. And then one of the exciting things we kind of added mid-construction through this project was a coffee shop. So we actually
Yeah.
have a local coffee operator in our space. I actually have their coffee this morning. So it's Sparrow Coffee is one of our local entrepreneurs. They have one location up in North Topeka, and so we are their second location here. So we're excited to bring that to the facility and have an open public space where the public can come in, grab coffee, have a meeting, actually see into one of our lab spaces from the coffee shop. So that's kind of an exciting addition that we were able to put into this project as we got going.
Yeah, so this is absolutely fantastic, and I know a lot of us here at K-State have been watching this develop for actually many years. And
Yes.
so one thing I always think about is this idea of taking something from a wild idea, from a concept, and actually putting it in to construction and then launching. And so, just honestly, congratulations, kudos to you and your team. I see several of our partners on the call here, and we have watched you persevere for years on this idea. So, Stephanie, honestly, round of applause for Stephanie Moran for pulling this off. So, let's talk a little bit about the partnerships because you kind of mentioned that a little bit. And a lot of us, I mentioned ESOs, entrepreneurship support organizations, but let's talk about the ecosystem and the partnerships because this wasn't just a singular idea that popped up and a singular effort. So let's talk a little bit more broadly about the ecosystem of support.
Yeah, absolutely. What I didn't mention when we got on here, for those who may not know, is Go-Topeka is the economic development partner for the city of Topeka and Shawnee County. So we're actually a nonprofit. We are not affiliated with either the city or the county, but we work on their behalf to conduct economic development activities for them. So my team actually covers all of the innovation, entrepreneurship, small business, and what we call our economic mobility or equity programming on behalf of those organizations. And so with that, we're actually moving all of that activity into this facility. So my small business, Stephanie Norwood is our VP over entrepreneurship and small business. All the programming that we do through our Small Business Council will take place in this facility. We run a small business incentives program that will be here. We actually have a business concierge office that we launched with the support of some K-State 105 funding, and we're continuing that over here. We actually have 6 Washburn University interns who are manning that desk for us and working here in the facility, working with our small businesses and entrepreneurs. They are actually all either entrepreneurship or international business students, which is exciting to see. But with that, we also partner with a lot of our organizations. I see Eric Peterson on here with Network Kansas. They've been a great partner through this. Obviously, K-State, some of that funding is also helping with some of the equipment that we'll have in our shared lab in here. So one of the lab spaces is intended to be a shared lab concept where we will have some common pieces of lab equipment, microscopes, centrifuges, mass spectrometers, that type of thing in that lab where if someone just needs to come in and rent a bench space for a short period of time to work on something but doesn't have the access to go purchase all of those pieces of equipment, that's a lab where we can rent that space on short-term basis for those startups or those entrepreneurs to come in and work before they're ready to do a full lab on their own. Um, but on the small business side, we've also got local partners here with OmniCircle, who is kind of our entry level entrepreneur support organization. We work with them and help provide some funding that allows them to do the Kaufman Fast Track program through their facility for our entry level startups. They do then kind of go into an emerge and an ascend, working with those entrepreneurs kind of through that launch phase. So a lot of our local, Main Street small businesses go through those programs and then graduate into Go-Topeka as we kind of talk about growing, sustaining, looking at what next generation looks like. Our Washburn University Small Business Development Center team is actually also housed here in Link. So they've just moved into the facility and they will offer their services out of here as well. Our plug and play partners are officed out of this facility. So we've really got programming for everyone from entry level entrepreneurship all the way up through our tech startups. We work a great deal with Ad Astra Bio, our state bio partner, the Animal Health Corridor team, Nexus, Pipeline, a lot of the support organizations throughout the state. We also had an announcement yesterday. Our Washburn University partners have come in and they are actually sponsoring this pitch space that I'm in right now, which is exciting to see additional engagement from Washburn University along with K-State. And so really looking to engage those partners throughout the state and region to work with our entrepreneurs here at Link.
Yeah, so what I really love about this and what you talked about here, and I think why it matters to our audience, we've got honestly a really robust attendance right now from all over the state. I can kind of pick people out from almost every corner in Kansas. And so there's many on-ramps for
Yes.
entrepreneurs. And sometimes it is hard to kind of figure out like what's that first step. And so when I think about this there's an on-ramp, but it's also kind of a two-way street. So I have an idea here, Stephanie.
Yes, I love ideas.
How about we do this? Let's do like a mock on-ramp
Okay.
for I'm just going to throw out an example and let's just talk about the different options. And if you're in the chat and you have other options that we don't think about, put them in the chat, feel free to turn on your camera. So if I'm a business, well, I'm not even going to start there.
Yeah.
If I'm somebody that has a really great idea and I've
Yeah.
been in agronomy for the last 15 years and I'm thinking this industry needs this biological or this piece of equipment. And as it turns out, I think we can get something started here, right? And
Yeah.
so you already mentioned some of those early stage ESOs. You can reach out to Network Kansas. You can reach out to Department of Commerce and start putting together your business licenses, grabbing an EIN. But you're almost to this point where you need to start testing out technology or something like that. So where's that on ramp to where somebody is like, okay, we need a lab, but we're a startup. We don't have the funding to build a lab, to staff a lab. I mean, so let's talk a little bit down the road. So this on ramp is now, oh my goodness, I need to be in Topeka and I need to utilize this space. So what does that look like and what should people consider in order to get to that point?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple different opportunities. Obviously, we'd want to make sure that you've got the solid resources behind you, having built a business plan, understanding what your market is, and all of those pieces. So you kind of mentioned those front end services. From that perspective, then a lot of times what we will do is if somebody's got a concept or an idea like that, I'll run that plus past our plug and play partners. There is
Okay.
an ag tech vertical along with, like I said, they've got over 20 different industry verticals. And so the plug and play team is a great resource to say, okay, let's see where you're at right now. Are you ready to be part of that plug and play system? Or do we need to do some additional things to get you ready to be part of that system? As far as the lab space goes, I think you've got a couple of
Did
options.
anybody else, did I lost your audio, Stephanie? Did anybody else or is that on my end?
It worked for me. I heard you, Stephanie.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Um, So with that, after like I said, we'll make the introduction with the plug and play team and say, okay, this is kind of where we're at. Are you guys ready to maybe be indoctrinated into that database? Are there companies that are looking for those types of technologies? Or is there some additional work that we need to do to get you ready to be part of that database? From a lab perspective, I think that shared lab is a great place to say, look, I need to get started, but I don't have a lot of money to do my own lab or my own staffing. That lab space, like I said, we'll have an inventory of the list of equipment that's available in that lab. And we would start in that space. If we don't have that equipment, then we could look and see who else do we have. There may be something at K-State that we can connect you with, where there's a lab in that perspective area that we would connect you with. Or there may be other CRO partners out there where we could say, look, I know you're looking for this type of equipment. We've got somebody over here who has that. We can connect you, get you started over there. Once you are ready to kind of start in your own lab space, then we have those options available. Like I said, we're starting those lab rates at what I think is a very affordable rate, really trying to make it work for startups. So we're starting at $30 a square foot on those lab spaces, which is really pretty entry level rate throughout the state. I know in speaking with our KU partners who are kind of on phase 3 and 4 of theirs, those lab spaces are probably going for more in the $40 to $45 a square foot type of rates. So this really kind of helps get that entry level rate started. Um, like I said, with the plug and play partners, we've done some reverse connections. So we're always looking for startups that go into that animal health accelerator program. Our team also does ag tech, and so we have ag tech partners that they work with. A lot of them are kind of in that banking insurance, so it's not necessarily working directly with the farmers, but it's the bankers and the insurance agents for those farmers who are looking for technologies that help with sustainability for those farmers, regenerative type of applications, things that are really helping to bring these family farms from, all right, we've got our boomer generation who's retiring and passing these farms down, but the technology just has not been there. So how do we get them caught up from I'm putting everything in a notebook or on a piece of paper to these different online applications, making sure that we have internet connectivity to be able to utilize a lot of those. So it's connecting all of those dots and pieces. We do a lot of veterinary applications as well through the animal health program. So there's a lot of ways we can connect those resources. From a funding perspective, I know we're all fighting for a lot of support and the angel tax credits. So using our local angels who really want to invest in a lot of these types of technologies to help our local startups, but using that tax credit as kind of a de-risking mechanism for that. So I know there's testimony next week on some of those programs over at the legislature, so we'll be part of that. The SBIR, STTR funding, continuing to fight for those types of programs, but also working on connectivity throughout the state from our venture capital and our angel investors. How do we connect those networks better? We've got pockets of that, but I don't think we've got the strongest connectivity across the state for that. So I know we've talked with some of our other resource partners on how do we do a better job of making sure that those pockets across the state are connected. So when we do have great startups, we're able to get them in front of all of our investors throughout the state and region.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I'm super passionate about that last point, Stephanie, is just making sure that all across the entire state of Kansas, that folks start to understand not only the resources that are available and how to connect to them, because it can be daunting. I mean, it can
Yes.
be absolutely daunting. So I see a couple questions popping up, but I needed to get one more in before we transitioned. Stephanie, you have done a great job of connecting major partners and our major research institutions, whether it's out of Kansas City. Um, my question to you is, when you think about who helps who, give me a couple examples. So when you're working with startups, when is the best time to pop over to KU? And when is the best time to pop over to K-State? And maybe give a few examples of what each of these institutions, and I don't want to leave out any other institution if others are valuable, because I know Washburn is right there
Yeah.
actually inside the building. So yeah, give us some examples of how we're popping around to the universities.
Yeah. I think Kansas actually has a really unique position. And one of the things as we built Link, we had push from some of our local electeds to that this should be tied to one university. And we're like, no, I'm adamant that we've got the opportunity to work with all the universities in the state because they don't play in the same sectors. K-State's been a great partner for us through the Animal Health Ag Tech as the land grant university. We have done a lot of tech validation projects with our plug and play startups, and Kansas State through Jeff Tucker's TDI team. We've been able to connect into different university departments, whether it's been through large animal herd health testing, veterinary diagnostics. I know we've got some equipment over in food diagnostics that we're testing. We've used grad students to do ingredient verification projects. We did a new pet food product over in the extrusion lab. So we've really been able to come into the university that way and do a lot of great connection. So I would go that way on those types of projects. If it's more human health, bioscience, pharma type of things, KU's got a lot of that type of connectivity. I know one of their new sectors is really focusing in on cybersecurity. So it's understanding who kind of has those pockets. Even our Wichita partners, we've got aerospace down there. There's a lot of that technology in the Wichita region. Washburn University provides a unique opportunity for us because of the technical Washburn Tech helps with a lot of those jobs that we need for labs. So it could be working on particular skill sets for labs that those startups may need, support positions through our technical colleges, but also on the business side at Washburn, we've got a really strong business school, law school. So leveraging those as we're looking at IP and other legal entity challenges that we may have with those startups. So there's really an opportunity to use all of the universities and having those connections and knowing which way to send startups as we have those conversations. So, thank you for acknowledging. We have tried to do a lot of work really to connect, understand who does what, making those relationships so that we can do the best job for our startups, whether they're local or these tech startups that are coming in through our accelerator programs.
You guys are the mycorrhizal fungi of the network. That's an agronomy joke for those of you who are paying attention. Okay, so we've got the on-ramp. We've talked about how people kind of on-ramp, about how they can make decisions on what type of lab space that they are looking for. You talked a little bit of kind of what's in the middle. So then once you get into the middle, that's when we can connect out, looking at the other universities. I know Jeff Tucker and his team, they can come to Topeka. They can have people come on campus, and I'm sure the same is very similar to the KU scenario. So now let's I don't think we ever fully off-ramp people because we want startups to have firm roots here in Kansas.
Yep.
But what does it look like to perhaps launch out? You're sitting in the pitch space. So not every startup is going to be ready to be pitching anything at the beginning. So let's kind of off-ramp everybody.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of what we do so Plug and Play has their Animal Health Accelerator program. We have the startups going through that. We've also contracted with Plug and Play to provide some additional training this year as we open this facility, really more at the local level. And so it's having that pitch training. So working with startups, whether there are youth entrepreneurs or college students, local business people that are looking for that, but really helping people to build those skill sets. So doing a lot of those types of trainings, connecting with mentors. Our vision for this facility, so we're built out on the first floor, but this building has 5 floors above us, right? And so the idea would be that as we get these spaces starting to fill up on first floor, we've got the opportunity with the landlord to build out into additional floors. And so those spaces would be then larger spaces that these companies can build out into. Maybe they're not quite ready to go out in the community or in the region to build out their own facility. So if they're working in a, 1,000 square foot facility here, okay, I'm ready to advance. Maybe I need 3,000 square foot of lab and 1,000 square foot for office. Okay, each floor above me has 20-ish thousand square feet, so we can start building in modules on the upper floors that can also house those lab type facilities as startups are able to grow. And then you've kind of got this ecosystem of growth through here. Start on the first floor with kind of your entry level, smaller concepts, graduate into second or third floor as you're building, growing your facility, and then as you're ready to launch out into the market or the community here in the region. We've already got partners who are wanting to come in, whether it's from construction, architect and design, marketing, business support. We're already seeing those partners kind of reaching out to us saying, "Hey, we'd love to help these startups as they get ready to launch out into their own space." So then I think you've got a whole nother level of resource partners that are helping them to say, "Okay, we recognize this is a great economic development opportunity, not only for Topeka, but the region and the state. Where does it make the most sense for these startups to land?" And so there's a lot of conversations between us and Manhattan, Lawrence, Kansas City, others to say, we want these startups to be successful. So maybe Topeka isn't the right. If they're a cybersecurity, maybe there's more commonalities for them over in the Lawrence area, or maybe it makes more sense if they're somewhere between here and Kansas City or Manhattan with NBAF or whatever that might look like. It's saying where's the right place for these startups because we ultimately want them in the state. We don't want to lose them to the coast or other places. So how do we support them and help them grow here in Kansas? And really creating that full ecosystem of not only the research and the university partners, but KBS Constructors has been our GC on this project, and they're already like, all right, how could we offer some support of a partnership discount type of model for these startups as they're coming out that maybe helps with some of these design services and getting them going and understanding how to support them as they build these type of projects. So I think we've got partners throughout the state who are wanting to be part of that as well. That's exciting. I know one of the things I wanted to mention while Eric's still on here is we do have the youth programs as well. So I think that's an exciting thing. We're seeing some really strong youth entrepreneurs here in the communities in Shawnee County, but I know the others. I watch the other counties' programs as well. And so I think, starting even at those younger levels, middle school, high school, how do we get these kids involved and engaged and support them through their entrepreneurship journey? So they'll be pitching here on this stage as well. So it's not just our tech startups, but it's our youth programs will be pitching on these stages. Our Washburn University pitch will be in here. So it's engaging entrepreneurs at all levels for the YEEC challenge and all of those programs. I think I've lost you there.
Okay. I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm going to stick that in the chat. That's going to be a future call for us. It's the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge. And a lot of you already know about this. It happens all over the state. And then we host on campus here at K-State the final competition. So if you think about it, we're doing this in so many different areas. Not only are we pushing out entrepreneurship, building out businesses, working with youth, and doing this all over the state of Kansas. And it is all about that on-ramp. We're trying to get as many people onto this on-ramp, onto this highway as we can have for this. So I stuck that in the chat, and I'm sure we have some other links. And this is a really great transition point. Kyle Johnson has his hand up, so I'm going to let him unmute and ask his question. And Kyle was our very last guest in December for our first Friday call. So yeah, Kyle. And if anybody else has questions, feel free, turn on your camera, raise your hand. Now is the perfect time to do that. So Kyle, take it away.
Thanks, Jessica. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Kyle, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
Crazy busy.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like it, which is great. This question isn't going to come out fully formed or kind of perfect here, but back to kind of on-ramps.
Yeah.
I'm a software guy, so I'm trying to translate to lab space, who I send to you and when. So I guess what I need to know is how much space does a typical lab space seeker need? At $30 a square foot, are we talking like I need 40 square feet? And then what goes in that box? What kind
Yeah.
of equipment do I need? Can you just speak to what's that prototypical customer need in terms of square feet and equipment and why?
Yeah. So if it's somebody who's taken a full lab, like I said, most of what we've seen kind of in the region and other facilities, it's anywhere from probably 500 to 750 square feet is kind of what those typical lab setups look like. By the time you put in casework, you've got your -80, -20 refrigeration, freezer units. You've got, like I said, a lot of the common biology. Your mass spec, your centrifuges, your plate readers, all those types of things. That's kind of a typical space that we've seen. And so that's where we've tried to build these kind of a standard lab modules. I think it's like 11 by 22 is kind of the ideal lab module. Um, from other applications, so if you're thinking, more software, some of the spaces, those white box spaces that we've left, we've tried to build as much flexibility into these as we can, learning from other facilities. We've seen those spaces be used for lab or for info systems analysis, those types of things where, okay, we can go back and we can either leave them in the finished concrete floor finish they have, or we can go back and put carpet in there. We could set up an office in one of those spaces with, 4 or 5 people in there who are working on those types of applications. You could do some small scale pilot manufacturing in one of those. It could be, that's why we've kind of left those three as not everybody's going to need your typical biology chemistry setup. So we've got some flexibility in those spaces to do other things. Um, or we do have that shared lab space, and it would have 6 bench spaces. So again, it's probably about a 700 to 750 square foot lab space, but it'll be rented by the bench. So you could have, kind of a 6 foot bench space that is yours, plus using all of the equipment that's in that facility or in that particular lab. So that's a little more economical option for those who may not be ready for a full lab space, but need access to that type of equipment.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That helps. Yes, that answers question one. I guess question two is then, um, and this is almost like semi-philosophical.
Yeah.
We're calling these things startups. Um, there is this R&D phase with what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Where it may not actually be a startup. It's
Correct.
like research.
Yes.
It's not ready for commercialization yet, maybe because we don't know if we actually have something here yet, but maybe they have SBIR, STTR, something to pay the rent
Yes.
and for the materials and time and labor to do this. So I guess my philosophical question, and maybe this is for the Kansas ecosystem at large, is like, do we want to call those research stage projects startups, or do we want to call them researchers?
Right.
Um, that's just a genuine question. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's definitely a valid question. I know as we're working with like I say startups that are coming through plug and play. I mean, those are anywhere from pre-seed to series A, B, C could be going through plug and play. So yeah, to your point, they're not necessarily true startups, but they are companies that have maybe been formed working for a while and are ready to be in a phase, not ready to launch out on their own yet, but they need those support services or that research space to come in. And so I think we could look at what that terminology is. Um, I know from, and I can ask Lindsay with our plug and play team if she's got if they use any other terminology within their organization for those types of companies. Um, I know when we talk about it, we're launching our batch of startups, so I mean that's kind of what they call them. But
Yeah.
I do think we could probably delineate what we're talking about at the different levels.
Well, and the reason I ask, I guess, is because as I run into people and I'm thinking like, okay, do I send them to Stephanie? Do I send them to KUIP? Where do I
Right.
send them? And how do we talk about them? I just think about the folks in KUIP's space. Most of them are not startups.
Right.
Most of them are either they were recruited here, they're not from here, they were recruited here for some space. They
Right.
have some lab space or whatever. They're not startups, they're mid to late stage tech companies.
Yeah.
Um, how many things do we want to grow from within versus recruit into our spaces? And just how do we talk about them so that we're not all just, and I don't mean you, but I mean me or anybody else, how do we talk about them accurately, I
Yeah,
guess?
Yeah.
and Kyle, I think that's something that we think about a lot too at K-State, because one thing that we're kind of talking about this on-ramp, and so we're making the assumption that people are kind of out there, but you're exactly right. We've got things internally. We've got brilliant researchers, and so I think it's kind of that song and dance. It's trying to figure out
Mhm.
where everybody needs to be, and it's testing the water a little bit too. I know that we have a new director of new ventures for Kansas State University who's been in this startup space for a really long time. And those are just really, really great questions that I think as we have this facility, sometimes it's going to be a one-off basis, and sometimes we're going to get really clear on what these definitions kind of look like. So, Stephanie, last chance for that, and then I think we had a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Um,
And I do think there's a little bit of trial and error to go with this. I do know that like I'm having conversations with Chris and Adam at KU. We're having conversations with, Kim and Emily over in the Animal Health Corridor folks. And it's again, some of that is us all having conversations to say, okay, what makes the most sense? We're going to be attracting startups in through plug and play from, like I said, outside of the US. We've had a lot of international startups that have had an interest in creating their US base. And so, yeah, does it make sense here? Does it make sense at KU? I've had a local startup here who was, more in the cybersecurity area. And I'm like, you know what? I want you here in Topeka and we will support you in any way we can. But quite honestly, they can probably do more for you right now than I can just because they've got that resource hub around them. So I think right now you need to be working with them to get you to your next stage before we have any more conversations. We
yeah.
can support you from a local level on, funding and some different things, but from resources, they're really where you need to be right now. And so I think it's just us partners having
Yeah.
those
Yeah, that makes
conversations
sense.
and saying, yeah, I think it makes the most sense. Or,
Kind of a deal by deal basis.
yeah. And some of it's going to be who's got space. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it,
Yep.
it may make space, maybe they are a strong fit for KU, but they just don't have any space
They
right
don't
now.
have any
So,
space. Yeah. Right.
so we could be an alternative to them until something opens up that maybe is a better fit.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate
Yep.
that.
I love that ecosystem approach. Okay, from the gallery here, Eric Peterson, you had a question. Go right ahead.
I will. Thank you. That's a good question, Kyle and Stephanie. I appreciate that back and forth. That was
Yep.
really good. Yeah, I just have a question, Stephanie, and I look forward to Monday's event. This has been awesome, and man, the work you and your team have done is wonderful. So Monday, I think, will be really, really fun.
Thank you.
My question is, just because of obviously the connection down the street, et cetera, I'm curious how the connection with commerce has been, or what support role you maybe see them playing as this goes forward.
Yeah, I know. We've actually just was able to sit next to Brandon Hunt with Commerce at our Flint Hills Roundtable earlier this week and have some conversations. I think from Commerce's perspective, we've got a couple of avenues to approach. I mean, we've obviously got the small business entrepreneurship side and how Commerce can be supportive and helpful in that avenue. But I think from a larger perspective on the innovation side, we've had a lot of conversations around how can they help us bring these startups in from outside of the US? So I know we were talking about a delegation that's coming in here in a few weeks and how Link can be supportive with those delegations that come in and say, okay, this is another area of opportunity that Kansas provides. So you've got your hubs in Wichita, you've got your hubs in Kansas City, Manhattan, Lawrence. Here's something that Topeka also offers. We've got this resource connectivity. how do we leverage some of the reach that commerce is doing then to bring those startups here to the US?
Makes really good sense. Good. Thank you. And I'll see you Monday.
All right, great. Looking forward to it.
All right. So we kind of had another question in the chat. And Mike Miller had sent me a message about his company being a part of kind of in a rural community.
Yeah.
And so the question here is, it seems like what Kyle was describing with R&D might make utilization of the Link facility a possibility. So sometimes the off-ramp is multi-stepped in order on how you get there. So bringing it back almost to how could folks in the rural community be thinking about this? I know we have other ESOs across the state, but yeah, like kind of bridging that connection as well, or people that are outside the animal health corridor.
Yeah, like I said, we got our start with animal health, and that kind of has driven us to this point. We're certainly supporting businesses and entrepreneurs in all industry sectors, and I can't say that enough. I don't want this to just be about animal health. Like I said, some of the best conversations I've seen happen and some of the best pivots I've seen in technology so far are when I do have startups of different industry sectors or founders sitting and having those conversations and say, "Hey, have you really thought about taking your technology this direction?" Or, could it be an application for something else? And so I think having those brainstorming sessions when you've got people in this facility colliding on a day-to-day basis is what we want to see. From a rural perspective, I know we're certainly open to having those conversations. There are understand that maybe a founder can't come and stay here long term. It could be we've got hot desk situations. So it's okay if you don't need a full blown office, but you need a place to come in and park and use the shared lab space. For research capabilities, we can certainly look at those options. Like I said, that shared lab space, we're looking at kind of a month to month leasing situation there. So if it's something you need to come in and do some research, you could have a hot desk along with that says, okay, I've got some space to come in and land and work for a period of time. If you're looking for, we all know within Kansas, within an hour you can drive a lot of places. So if it's close enough that you can drive back and forth, great. If you need some extended stay, we're happy to help you find accommodations that are reasonable and affordable on what that looks like, and looking at how we can help and support in that aspect.
Well, I love that you talked about the hot desks, but you also have hot coffee, right? And
Yes.
so even if you're in Topeka for another meeting, I know Eric was talking about some of the work that's going on at the legislature to get some of the angel tax credits pushed through. This is another place for you to pop over and have a meeting with a colleague. So anybody, the way I understand it, right? Anybody can walk in the front door.
Yep.
Get some coffee. I love Sparrow. It's one of my favorite coffee shops when I do go to Topeka. So I was really thrilled when I heard that small business, and think about it, that business is now expanding.
Yes.
That's a business expansion because of this opportunity. So very cool, guys. We are getting close to the bottom of the hour. We've got about 7 minutes left, and just really want to encourage folks, if you have questions, feel free to get them to us, and we'll do a good job of not only talking a little bit about the follow-up of this ribbon cutting, and I know there's a big expo in June. Do you want to just briefly, is the whole expo going to be in the new building now? Is that
We
the
will probably
idea?
still have to have a portion. I don't think I can fit the full crowd in this space,
Okay.
unfortunately. But we do have our expo. We actually moved it to the last week of May this year because of World
Okay.
Cup and trying to get everybody in. We were concerned about the travel and hotel availability. So that is the last week of May, I believe 26th, 27th, 28th is when we'll have that expo here in Topeka. We do have the ribbon cutting Monday at 3 p.m. And then we do have, if you're in town, we have a business unwind scheduled here on February 24th from 5 to 7 p.m. So if you're unable to make Monday, I would invite any of you to come visit us during that business unwind. It's kind of our chamber unwind or business to business, if you will. But we'll be open house that evening as well, where you could come see the facility. So I think Jessica had the linktopeka.com as our website. My contact information is out there. The online booking system for any of these spaces is on that site as well. But please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer any questions that didn't get answered today, or discuss the space, or whatever we can do to help support. If you're an area that wants to connect, so we have that resource connectivity, I would love to have a conversation.
All
Stephanie,
right.
quick question. It's Eric. This is a very technical and but silly question. I'm sure of it. So just to make sure I understand, Topeka, the concierge center that did exist that I
Yeah.
remember we had, that has now is not there on Jackson or Kansas, and it's now at Link.
Correct.
Thank you. Just
Yes.
making sure.
Yep.
Okay. That is a really great point. And that's another topic I think we could probably dig into a lot deeper, honestly. Talking about how the offices kind of operate and how people can use the small business development centers. Absolutely. You guys know me, I'm geeked out about that topic actually. So we're going to switch over a little bit here and wrap things up. We'll stick Stephanie's contact information in the chat, and I have a few announcements. In fact, some of these announcements are so new that my team probably doesn't even know about them. So Jennifer, with that, could you stick the my next big announcement on the slide here? So we are doing these calls monthly, and I am so thrilled to announce that the March guest speaker will be Connor Adley with Nexus. And so kind of keeping in this theme of entrepreneurship, ESO, how can we all work together to help lift up innovation in the state of Kansas? So we have this really cool event. This is the second event that we've had. This is the second year of the event. Last year, it was down in Wichita with great connectivity with Wichita State, and it's called Game Changers and Champions. And every year it's going to happen kind of during that, what is it called? March Madness time of year. But what we're going to do is we're going to have startups compete for a big cash prize. And so I don't think that Connor's on the line. He texted me right before the call and said that he wouldn't be able to pop on today. But in March, we're going to be talking to Connor because the 2026 event will be held at KU. So Wichita State, KU, hoping maybe they think that the Wildcats could help them out in the next coming years. But yeah, we're going to be talking to Connor. If anybody from Nexus is on the line right now, feel free to chime in. But that is the goal moving forward. Eric, did you have any other, what did I forget to mention about Game Changers and Champions?
Nothing. I think most of the people on here probably went to last year's event downtown in Wichita, and they've got a really cool venue at the football stadium at KU for this coming year. I know the event itself has grown bigger. The pitch competition's going to be bigger. I mean, look, I was just down at Nexus yesterday, and we all know the events they put on are first rate, and Connor's doing a fantastic job on the side that he's worked on. So. I just think this is going to be a really cool thing that people need to mark their calendar for. I think it'll be really, really worth the day. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm glad Connor will be on next month to talk about it, Jessica.
All right. I hope you guys can still hear me. My internet is not good. Can you guys still hear me?
We can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay, good. With that being said, join us next March when we have the First Friday e-call, and we're going to be talking about Game Changers and Champions. And I am so excited to be able to feature Kansas entrepreneurs that are going up on that stage and literally pitching everybody on that stage of what their dreams are. And it is, I get choked up sometimes when I think about the guts it takes for people to get up there and do that. So the First Friday e-calls, we're here to support you. If you have additional questions for the team, just don't hesitate to email myself or Jennifer Tidball. And with that, guys, we are on time. Heck yeah, this is exciting.
Heck of a job, Jessica. Thank you. Great energy.
Thank you very much.
Great
Appreciate it,
energy.
Good morning,
Jessica.
everyone.
All right,
Take care, everybody.
have a great Friday. Good way to start the weekend, right? Stephanie, thank you so much for your time today. We definitely appreciate it.
Well, thank you for letting us share about Link.
We'll see you on Monday.
Okay, great.
Okay, we'll see you.
I'm going to just stick around and I'll stop the recording here in just a minute as we let folks drop off.
Great job, Jennifer.
Yeah, let's